What is going on, Faux Reelers? We are back with the Ross Report for Week 4. Jumping right in here, looking at the standings. We got two teams kind of standing out here up in the north. You got Phil, who was 4-0. And down south, Now and Tim making it happen, also 4-0. It's a little more parity in the north, it looks like. I mean, Eric's 0-4. The only 0-4 team, so that shows that the north's not as strong, but it's close. I mean, Phil is 4-0, but he's been outscored by 11 points for the season for Al, who's 3-1. So Al's right there. They'll play again. But other than that, everyone else 2-2, 2-2 for Mike and Jeff, and then Paul with the big dub. So we'll get into that as we break down the games. In the South, like I said, it's really a two-team race. It's myself and Niall and Tim. I'm 2-2. Team did not perform last week, but as far as points, we're basically the same. 464 for Tim and Niall, and 462 for me. So I'm 2-2, but points wise, I'm right there. So those are the two teams in the South that are really gonna run away with it. I'll basically lock up the playoffs in about 3 weeks. Niall's basically almost there, anyways. So also in the South, I mean, Hubba's hanging around. He's only about 20 points behind as far as points scored. So Hubba's looking pretty good. Dreamcocks are awful. I gifted Daryl just out of pure love for Daryl and hate for his mental state being on 4. I gifted him a win this week. You're welcome. And then Tyler, is hanging in there, trying to make moves. But he is 1-3, and he is better than Eric, but he is also at the bottom. Let's jump into the games. Myself and Daryl, it won't be much to talk about. I lost by 40. I just felt like sometimes you got to do what's best for people. Tough week for me overall. I lost to Daryl. Cooper had a touchdown, an 80-yard touchdown called back off the worst holding penalty ever. There's 14 points. But I lost by 40, so it wouldn't have mattered what I did. I mean, the Cooper touchdown, as much as it destroyed my fucking afternoon, it wouldn't have made a difference. But sometimes things work out the way they're supposed to work out, and I'm happy for Daryl. I mean, his team showed up for the first time all year. Stroud played well. Big game from Williams. JMO's had a couple of big games this year. He got away with starting Waddle, which you really can't start Dolphins receivers at this point. You just can't. But overall, his team played pretty well. Mine didn't. Breece Hall, for whatever reasons, now splitting carries with Braden Allen, which is stupid. I fucked up. I said, you know what? Devontae's out. I'll start Myers. I'll get him in there. I should have started Sutton. But I didn't. I fucked up. Daryl got the dub. Game 2 we'll talk about here. Talk about Now and the Dreamcocks. Now smoked them, as I predicted. Looking at the matchups here, I think the biggest thing is where the Dreamcocks are getting hurt, other than the owner, is Strauzer. That's a big problem. Pat Mahomes, although they're 4-0, he's not putting up a ton of points. He's not doing the Josh Allen 38-point games. Part of that's because, their weapons are depleted. I'll look at his bench here. I mean, he could start Caleb Williams if he wanted. It wouldn't matter. He's still going to lose. He lost this week anyways. But that's what's going to hamper him, is that his best player is a quarterback that has no weapons. Now, maybe there's a trade. I read that Amari Cooper might be traded to Kansas City. I don't think Devontae's going there, but they're going to pick up. I heard maybe Tyreek Hill might come up as far as a trade to Kansas City. That's going to be Strauzer's only hope to make the playoffs, is if they get a weapon, and then Pat Mahomes can put up 30 to 35 points a game like he did a couple years ago. Other than that, I mean, he did have a good game from Jonathan Taylor and a huge game from Kenneth Walker. I mean, he had 22 points from Kenneth Walker and still only scored 106. So that tells you that there's really not enough from the entire team. You have 2 people carrying the weight for everybody. And when you're playing a team with like Niles and Tim's, it's pretty solid top to bottom. Now they're going to be hurt by Rice being out. But we'll see what happens there. But their bench is good. I mean, they got Christian Kirk on the bench. They can move the other receiver and then flex Swift. So, they got some options, even with McCaffrey being out. Mason's playing well. So, Niles' team's going to they're not unbeatable. I'll get them next time I play them for sure. But the injury bug hit them, and they're also riding the Jaden Daniels thing. So we'll see how that goes. All right, game 3. Let's keep it in the South since we started there. Where we at here? Who'd I miss? All right, so you know what? Let's just do old Tyler and Hubba. Let's just get that talking. So Tyler needed this as much as Daryl needed this. There's a joke about how much Daryl needed it. Tyler really needed it. It's just a tough time for Tyler. He's starting Sam Darnold, which was probably his best play of the year so far. Is picking up Sam Darnold. But luckily, Hubba's team also kind of underperformed, so it was one of those things where Tyler's team didn't play that great, but Hubba's team underperformed really for the first time this year. So I mean, this was a fluke. Hubba, I'd say 8 times out of 10 with these rosters would beat Tyler pretty handily. Just this week, Sam Darnold showed up. He doubled up with Justin Jefferson, which is fun for points. Big game from Diggs, and then a huge game from Derrick Henry, and that's really the difference. I mean, Derrick Henry put up 34. He won by 17. If Derrick Henry puts up a normal Derrick Henry game, or even a good Derrick Henry game, which is 15 to 17 points, Hubba gets the victory. Looking at Hubba's team, really the only place that he got no help was Kyle Pitts, which has to be the most. I mean, he's just not good. I know he's all the magazines and all the sites like Kyle Pitts, he's ass. And unfortunately, Hubba got taken for a ride like a lot of owners that take Kyle Pitts now, I think for the 3rd year where he's just been ass. So that's the big thing. He again lost by 17, got 0 from Kyle Pitts. And then really no double digits from his running back. That's the biggest thing. Bijan didn't do. I mean, he put up 9 points. He got 9 from DJ Moore. So if one of those scores a touchdown and Kyle Pitts gives you, 60 yards, it's a different game. All right, let's jump up to the north. We'll start here with. We'll come back to that one here. We'll start with Phil. Phil's 4-0. He smoked Paul. We knew that. I mentioned earlier Paul had a big dub. He did. He didn't get the triple Yabo because he got smoked in fantasy, but a big dub for the Titans. So happy for him with that. But looking at fantasy, it's bad. It's going to remain bad. It's just awful. He lost by 40. Again, I think for the 3rd time. He's not 0-4, so it could be worse. For his brother, it is. But looking at the matchups, I mean, Paul, dude, you're doing it to yourself. You already got the worst team on paper. I mean, if you look at the roster, it's like I thought someone was fucking with us. Then I realized you were at the draft. Like, this isn't a joke. It's not a prank. He's just stupid. But then you start Will Levis. You kind of get what you deserve at that point. I mean, he put up half a point, which I don't remember him completing the pass. So did he run for 5 yards? It must be when he got hurt. But other than that, that massive half a point game, Jamar Chase I think Jamar Chase didn't score hardly any points the first 2 weeks, maybe 5 or 6 points total for the first 2 weeks. But over the last 2 weeks, he's put up close to 40. So Jamar Chase is probably Paul's highest scorer, and he really didn't show up the first 2 weeks. So that kind of tells you how tough it's going to be for Paulie. On the bench here, I mean, he did have Chase Brown on the bench. I mean, that was your best play. You started Dowdle, which is good. He got a touchdown, and you got Tim from Spears, which I know that's the hometown boy, and you want to play him. But you got to start Chase Brown. He's going to get the majority of the touches in Cincinnati. He's explosive. But I mean, you could have started your entire bench and your starting team, and you still would have lost by 25. So it wouldn't have mattered much. So. Easy for Phil to be 4-0 when you're playing Paul and Eric. All right. Also in the north, speaking of Eric, he also got – hold on a second. What am I looking at here? Okay, they basically scored the same amount of points. Paul put up 81.7, and then Eric put up 81.12. The funny thing of that is there's 2 things. One, those are both fucking awful scores. But Paul beat Eric last week, and he would have beat him again this week. So it wasn't a fluke, Paul. You can look at the positive there that there's no fluke. Your team would have beat Eric 2 weeks in a row. But jumping into Eric's game, Let's see here. Mike beat him by 50. He lost to 40 to Phil. Paul. Eric lost by 50 to Mike. I mean, God, this is awful. Let's see here. I mean, Brian Robinson Jr. is your best player by a lot. I mean, Malik Neighbors is playing really well. You got to try to trade Tyreek Hill. I know it's going to be hard just because the Dolphins quarterback situation is bad, but you can't do nothing. I mean, which is what you've been doing all year is nothing. You're 0-4, so it's like you're not even here, other than the opportunity for us to laugh at you, which is fun. I appreciate that. But you got to do something, man. I know I talked to you about making some trades. You gave me this like stupid look, like, why would I trade? Dude, you're fucking 0-4. You got to do something. Like, you got to do something. Matchup wise, again, you lost by 50, so there's not much to talk about. Basically, his receivers outscored almost your whole team. For the receivers and flex put up 65 points. So just receivers and flex, you would have only beat them by 15. So wasn't close. Was never going to be close. Eric's, you would think, shouldn't have the worst team. If you look at the rosters, Paul has the worst team, but Eric's clearly the worst manager. All right, next game in the North here. We'll go Jeff Rowe and Al. Actually, a close game. Not many close games this week. A lot of blowouts. I don't. The good thing for Jeff is there really wasn't much he can do. I mean, you look at who he played, and he had some points on the bench, but nothing dramatic enough that would have made the swing. Baker showed up and played really well for him again. I think Kyler, in 2 weeks in a row, is back to being Kyler Murray. I know he ran around and did crazy shit weeks 1 and 2, but Kyler Murray, again, I had him on my team a couple years ago. I hate him. So I think that's who he is, and that's who he's been the last couple of weeks. But big game from Nico Collins for Al. And then, another big game for Thomas there in Jacksonville. And then 20 points. I mean, Al's the guy that wants no fucking kicker. I think it's like the third week he's got 20 points from his fucking kicker. So without the kicker, Al, the one that he's not watching this anyways. He don't have fucking internet out in Marysville or some shit. But the kicker you don't want is the reason you're 3-1. Otherwise, you'd be Eric. So thankfully you got a kicker. But yeah. So, and then the last game for last week, or was that all of them? Yep, that's all of them. Got them all. All right, so let's take a look at week 5 then. All right. Starting at the top here, I'm playing Dreamcox. It's going to be ugly. I'm going to smack his ass. I'm going to really, I'm favored. Right now I'm only favored by 3. But, that's because I got Devontae in my lineup still, so I'll make that switch out, and that'll put me as a 20-point favorite. I'll win by 35-40. Matchup wise, again, Mahomes has no help. Pittman Jr. has no quarterback. Godwin's got Baker, but he likes Evans better. Kenneth Walker had 31 points last week. He'll have 6 this week. Jonathan Taylor will be his highest scorer, but my team's loaded top to bottom. Dak will play really well. Cooper's going to get a couple touchdowns just because they're going to try to trade him, so you're going to see them force the ball to him a lot. So he'll probably have 2 tutties this week when the Browns beat the Commanders. Breece Hall is going to bounce back because he has to. He had like 5 points last week. Can't happen. Won't happen. Kamara's RB1. So yeah, I will clap this dipshit pretty easily. So really not much else to talk about except major clapping going on. All right, next game for week 5. Let's take a look here. We'll jump into the 2 worst teams in the South here. And this is good for both of them, really. So you got Tyler and Daryl. They both need a win. They both need the one last week and got it. A win here, you're actually back into talking playoffs because both teams are better than Strasser. I mean, so one of these two's got to jump over Strasser, and that's going to be fighting for your 4th spot. Looking at the matchup currently, Yahoo has Daryl favored by about 4. But I'm going to do the homer thing. I'm going to take my boy. I think Sam Darnold is going to have another 25 to 30 point performance. He's going to hit 2 more touchdowns with Jefferson. Derrick Henry is going to just butt fuck the Bengals, which I'm here for. Like, obviously I hate the Ravens because I'm a Browns fan, but I despise real quick. Bengals fans are the worst fucking fans. I think I probably go on this rant every year at some point, but the fact that there are Bengals fans is awful. Their team's awful. Their stadium's shit. Their uniforms are fucking fugly. They're a knockoff Cleveland Browns. We beat them every fucking time we play them. And the old Browns are going to butt fuck them this week. So Henry's only projected to have 14. He's going to have 20 for sure. Najee Harris sucks, but Tyler has to play him. But when you look at the matchups, Najee Harris sucks, but so does Connor for Arizona. Williams in LA isn't consistent, so it's going to be close. But I will take I'll take Tyler, and Tyler will win by 5. All right, next game here, we will look at. Let's look at Jeff and Mike, another big game in the middle of that division. So again, a win by either of these teams. They're both 2-2, I believe. But that's going to put you in that third spot. Phil and Al is kind of the top points wise. They are too, but putting this third spot is going to be basically a guarantee because right below you, you got 2 people that aren't going to make the playoffs. They're not going to win. They might not win another game this year unless they play each other, which is Eric and Paul. So a win here, you're basically locking up the playoffs. So it's important. It's early in the season, but you're jockeying for that position. Looking at the matchups, I think Baker outscores Joe Burrow. Baker is better than Joe Burrow. Baker's always been better than Joe Burrow. Baker is 3-0 against Joe Burrow. That continues this week. Yahoo has the game being a low-scoring game. 87-88 is the projection, with Mike being they think Mike's going to win. But Baker's going to put up 35 on the shitty Bengals defense. Jeff's going to win by 20, if not 30. And there's really not much to talk about. Baker over Burrow every day. All right, next game. I need you, Hub. I'll get him eventually. I'll play him again, and I'll get Nile eventually. But Hub and Nile and Tim, big matchup again. Luckily, Hub and me are in a good spot. We have Tyler and we have Strawser in the division. So, even though we are jockeying for position, it's a wrap pretty much, as long as you can keep up your end of the deal. You're projected to lose by 6 this week, but looking at the matchups, I do think Hub has got a chance. I think Niles, 4-0 is kind of smoke and mirrors. I should have had him week 1, but I couldn't pull it out. Opportunities last week. So, Nile is beatable. I think Hubba gives him a run for his money. I'm actually going to take Hubba. I think Lamar is going to play, really well again against the Bengals. He always does. And then looking at the other matchups, Olave's back. You need some help from DJ Moore. You need a touchdown. So you need that Bears offense to click a little bit. And you got to get something out of the tight end room. If you can get, 6 to 8 points out of Kyle Pitts or whoever you play at tight end, I think you beat them, Hub. I really do. The big thing for now is, Josh Allen can have 40 points any week. Scary Terry's going against the Browns defense, and I know you're a Commanders fan and all this stuff, but, he's probably going to be manned up with Denzel Ward, who's one of the best cover guys in the league. So I don't think Scary Terry goes off. But it's a battle of the kickers. Fairbairn usually is putting up 15 points a game, but versus Aubrey. So because Aubrey is probably the strongest kicker in the league at this point, I am going to go with Hubba by 3. So Hubba will get the North back into control the South. He'll get the South back under control this week by smacking Nile and Tim around a little bit. And all right, back up in the North. I mean, what the fuck? So it's crazy how awful your fucking division is. So the 2 best teams in the league in the North, I should say. Take a guess who they play this week. The 2 worst. So Al plays Paul, and Phil plays Eric. So just to humor everybody, we'll take a look at those games. Paul's right now projected to lose by 11. He's 11-point dog. He's not, as of today, this is Thursday, he is not starting Will Levis, surprisingly. I mean, can't be, he's going to get more than half a point, Paul. He's going to be better this week. You're going to miss out on that. But he's starting Geno. But the only hope that Paul has really is if Kyler Murray kind of runs around like he does and doesn't, if Kyler Murray puts up 15, Paul's going to be close because Jamar always plays pretty well against Baltimore. And the good thing about the matchup is if Kyler Murray's throwing to Harrison, that helps Paul too. So Paul's probably going to get clapped. He won't score 90 points, which is what Yahoo's projecting. He'll be in the 80s again. It'll be enough for Al to win. But Al starting Kareem Hunt, which isn't, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, it's a great play. Now you're like, yeah, we'll see. But Paul's team's just so bad that I don't know that there's much that Al can do to fuck this up. But we'll see. But I will take Al, and Al will cover. He'll win by 25. And then the last game of the week is Phil and Eric. Eric's not going to make any trades before Sunday, so Phil's only projected to win by 9. He'll win by 20. He'll do the same thing that his brothers. It's brother versus brother. Both Schweitzer brothers are going to get butt fucked as usual. I mean, that's what they do. Eric's starting Trevor Lawrence, which I think we all know now that he's a bad quarterback. He's still starting Tyreek Hill. I guess you have to. He was your second overall pick, number 2 in the entire draft. But he's not getting 10 points because he's not. I don't even think he'll catch. There won't be an attempt in the end zone. Like, they'll throw the ball, and he may catch it, but it'll be nowhere near the end zone. You're still starting Mark Andrews. At some point, dude, you just got to decide if you want to do fantasy football anymore. Maybe you're Nile. Maybe that's who you are at this point, and that's okay. It's not. It's sad. Maybe you need to call someone to help you draft and to put your team together because you can't manage it anymore. You've never been able to manage it. You do have a championship. I think you have 2, actually. So there was a time where you got lucky, but now it's like sad. So, if anyone knows anybody that could help Eric draft better, maybe Tim wants to do it for both brothers. Maybe he could suck both their dicks. I don't know. But it's better than getting beat every week by 40. I don't know. Having Tim suck your dick. I don't know if that's better, but it's definitely not worse. Matchups again. There's really no. Starting Zach Moll. There's really no way that Eric can win this game. All jokes aside, I hope he does, just because I don't want Phil to be undefeated. Phil has the worst fantasy football name ever, and it's awful. And the fact that he wins games just annoys me for that reason alone. And look at this stupid fucking symbol. Oh, I'm a skeleton with guns. Dude, come on. You can do better. Your team's better than that. But there's really nothing. Phil can have another horrible name and another horrible team logo, and he's still going to beat Eric by 40 probably. Because Drake London's bad. Tyreek Hill's bad. Devin Singletary's bad. Mark Andrews doesn't even play. Justin Tucker's 50. Pittsburgh's playing Dallas. Prescott's going to go off. It's just ugly for Eric. It's just not good. So those are the matchups for the week. I think after this week, we'll start doing the interconference. I think that's when the schedule breaks. We'll do some North versus South, which will be fun. I hope I play Eric and Paul next 2 weeks so I can basically take a vacation and just be 6-2 and be good to go. And but we'll see. Other than that, I got Mandy's 6-pack for the week. She was 5-1 last week. I think I told you guys I fucked up. I bet the spreads, and I shouldn't have. I meant to bet money line, so she lost. She lost anyways. But overall, she's about 500. So this week, she is taking Seahawks over the Giants, Chiefs over the Saints. God, her fucking handwriting is nearly as bad as mine, and I write like a fucking 4-year-old. I don't know if you can see that or not. There you go. Yeah, that's her handwriting. So I think she's taking the Bucks over the Falcons, Bears over the Panthers, Colts over the Jags, and Bills over the Texans. Those are her 6 picks. If you're watching this today, it's Thursday night. Let's get our tailgate parlay in Friday. Eric and Paul are traveling Saturday. And again, let's get our bets in before the odds change. So if you're interested in the tailgate parlay, text me your pick. Those that haven't done it before, it's a college game. Anything you want, pick one game. You can do money line, you can do spread, you can do whatever you want. You mirror our picks, so everyone makes a pick. We make the parlay together on your own. You make the parlay bet on your app with our picks, and then you lose money. Is generally how it goes. So if you're in the mood to have some fun and donate $5 or $10, text me your pick. It's first come, first serve. So if you take Ohio State, but then Paul texts Ohio State 5 minutes later, you'll get the text saying you win. Paul's got to pick another game. So if you see a game you love, don't wait, make the pick. I think that's all I got tonight. We will be at the West game. So, again, if you're watching this before 7 o'clock, myself, Eric, Paul, Jeff, I believe Joe, are going to be at the West game. I think Mike said he couldn't make it. So, if you are out and about and have some time to kill, join us at the West game. And then, other than that, enjoy your week. And until next week, keep it faux real, faux life.